3 nights ago, a woman named Sarah sat on her bathroom floor at 2 a.m., sobbing uncontrollably, feeling a crushing weight on her chest that no doctor could explain. She had tried everything: therapy, medication, prayer groups, but nothing stopped the invisible force that seemed to drain her life energy day after day. That night, in her darkest moment, she remembered something her grandmother once whispered to her before she passed, something about a mark that Jesus himself revealed to his closest disciples, a divine shield imprinted on every human body that most people never activate because the church kept it hidden for centuries. With trembling hands and nothing left to lose, Sarah looked at her palm under the dim bathroom light and followed the ancient technique her grandmother had described. Within minutes, the oppressive weight lifted. Within days, her entire spiritual reality transformed. Within weeks, people started asking her what had changed, why she seemed protected, why attacks that used to devastate her now bounced off like rain on glass. What Sarah discovered that night is what I am about to reveal to you right now, and I need you to understand something crucial before we continue. The protective mark that Jesus revealed exists on your body at this very moment. You were born with it, but if nobody teaches you how to activate it, it remains dormant, and you remain vulnerable to every spiritual attack, every oppressive force, every dark energy that seeks to destroy your peace, your health, your relationships, and your divine purpose. Before I show you exactly where this mark is and how to activate it in the next few minutes, if you want continuous access to suppressed spiritual knowledge like this, ancient techniques that were hidden from the masses, and emergency prayers that bring immediate relief, subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because what comes next will change your spiritual life forever. And you will not want to miss the upcoming videos where I reveal even more powerful techniques that the religious establishment never wanted you to know. This channel exists to give you the spiritual weapons you need to protect yourself and your loved ones in a world filled with invisible battles. In the next few minutes, you will discover the exact location of the protective mark that Jesus revealed. You will learn the precise activation technique that has been suppressed for nearly 2,000 years, and you will understand why certain religious authorities worked so hard to keep this knowledge away from ordinary believers like you and me. This is not theory, this is not metaphor, this is a practical spiritual technology that works immediately when applied correctly, and thousands of people who thought they were destined to suffer under spiritual oppression are now living in divine protection because they learned what you're about to learn right now. The story begins in the hidden texts that were excluded from the Bible we know today. In the Gospel of Thomas, in the secret book of John, in the Pistis Sophia, and in oral traditions passed down through mystical Christian communities for centuries, there are references to a teaching that Jesus gave only to his inner circle about the divine armor that every human being carries. These texts speak of specific points on the human body where the divine presence is concentrated, where the Creator placed seals of protection that, when awakened through knowledge and intention, create an impenetrable shield against spiritual attacks. One of the most powerful of these seals, according to these suppressed teachings, is located in your hand, specifically in the natural lines and marks that form the shape of a cross, or a specific sacred geometry that varies slightly from person to person, but follows a divine pattern. Why was this teaching suppressed? The answer is both simple and deeply disturbing. When people know how to protect themselves spiritually, when they understand that they carry divine power within their own bodies, they become spiritually independent. They no longer need intermediaries. They no longer live in fear. They no longer depend on institutions to access the divine. For religious authorities throughout history who built their power on being the gatekeepers between God and humanity, this kind of spiritual empowerment was dangerous. A population that knows how to activate their own divine protection is a population that cannot be controlled through fear, and fear has always been the most effective tool of spiritual control. But here is what those who suppressed this knowledge did not count on. They did not count on grandmothers whispering secrets to their grandchildren on deathbeds. They did not count on mystical orders preserving the techniques in coded language. They did not count on the internet age where suppressed knowledge could spread like wildfire. And they definitely did not count on people like you. People who are tired of suffering, tired of being spiritually defenseless, tired of watching dark forces attack your life while religious leaders offer nothing but empty platitudes and tell you to just pray harder without teaching you how to pray effectively. Let me explain to you how this divine shield works on the spiritual plane before I show you how to activate it. Your body is not just flesh and bone. Every mystical tradition, from Christian Kabbalah to esoteric Christianity to the teachings of the Desert Fathers, understood that the physical body is a map of spiritual realities. Specific points on your body correspond to specific spiritual frequencies, and when you activate these points with intention, awareness, and the correct technique, you create resonance with divine protection frequencies that repel negative energies, the same way light repels darkness. The mark in your hand is particularly powerful because your hands are your primary tools of interaction with the physical world, and therefore they are also your primary spiritual interface. When you activate the shield mark in your hand, You're essentially turning your hand into a spiritual weapon and a divine antenna that both repels attacks and attracts blessings. Before I reveal the exact technique, I want to ask you something that maybe nobody has ever asked you with true compassion. How long have you been carrying this spiritual weight in silence? How many nights have you laid awake feeling something invisible pressing down on you, draining you, confusing your thoughts, and you did not know who to turn to because you feared they would not understand? If right now you recognize that you are exhausted from carrying this spiritual affliction alone, I want you to do something that may seem simple but is profoundly powerful. Write in the comments right now the phrase "I receive divine relief now." Do not underestimate the power of this public declaration. When you decree out loud, or in this case in writing, that you are open to receiving spiritual help, something shifts in the invisible realm. And beyond that, by commenting, you are helping the algorithm bring this video to other afflicted souls who at this exact moment are desperately searching for the same help you are receiving. Do not keep this knowledge just for yourself. Right now, I receive divine relief now, and allow your activated faith through this declaration to open the portals of grace. Now, let me reveal to you the location and activation of the shield mark. Look at your right hand. Open your palm and look carefully at the lines. You will see that the major lines of your palm, the heart line, the head line, the lifeline, and the smaller lines that cross them, create natural patterns. In most people, if you look carefully, you will find a formation that resembles a cross, a star, or a specific geometric pattern. This is not random. According to the hidden teachings, this is the physical manifestation of the divine seal that was placed on you before you were born. The specific pattern varies from person to person, because each person has a unique spiritual mission and therefore a unique configuration of divine protection. But the principle is the same. This mark is your spiritual fingerprint, your divine identifier, your connection point to the protective power of the Creator. The activation technique that was suppressed involves 3 elements combined together: focused intention, sacred breath, and physical contact with the mark. Here is how you do it. First, find a quiet moment. Even just 2 or 3 minutes is enough. Hold your right hand in front of you with your palm facing you. Look at the pattern of lines and find the formation that most resembles a cross or a sacred symbol. It does not have to be perfect. Remember that divine geometry is organic, not mechanical. Once you have identified the mark, place the thumb of your left hand directly on that spot and apply gentle but firm pressure. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. With each breath, visualize divine light entering through the top of your head and flowing down through your body into your hands. On the 3rd breath, as you exhale, say either out loud or silently in your mind, "By the mark of Christ within me, I activate the shield of divine protection. I seal myself against all spiritual attacks. I claim the armor that is my birthright. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I am protected by the hand of the Most High." As you say these words, continue pressing your thumb on the mark and feel the activation happening. You may feel warmth, tingling, a subtle vibration, or simply a deep sense of peace. These are signs that the activation is working. People who practice this report extraordinary experiences. A man named Marcus from Texas wrote to me describing how for years he suffered from nightmares so intense that he was afraid to sleep. He would wake up feeling like something had physically attacked him during the night, with scratches appearing on his body that he could not explain. Doctors found nothing. Psychologists suggested stress, but the attacks continued. When Marcus learned about the shield mark and activated it using this exact technique, the very first night he slept peacefully for the first time in 3 years. The second night, he had a dream where he saw dark entities approaching him, but being repelled by an invisible barrier of light surrounding his body. By the end of the first week, the scratches stopped appearing. By the end of the first month, the nightmares were completely gone. Marcus now activates the shield mark every morning as part of his spiritual hygiene routine, and he says that not only have the attacks stopped, but his entire life has shifted into a higher frequency where opportunities flow to him. Toxic people naturally distance themselves, and he feels guided and protected in ways he never experienced before. Another testimony comes from a woman named Isabella from Mexico who was experiencing what she described as spiritual harassment at her workplace. She felt constantly watched by invisible eyes, heard whispers when nobody was around, and experienced sudden drops in energy whenever she entered her office building. She had tried traditional prayers, she had worn blessed medals and crucifixes, she had even had her office blessed by a priest, but nothing worked. The moment she learned about the shield mark and activated it, she felt an immediate shift. She described it as suddenly realizing she had been walking around without clothes and suddenly putting on armor. The whispers stopped. The feeling of being watched disappeared. Her co-workers even commented that she seemed different, stronger, more confident. Isabella now teaches this technique to her family members and close friends, and they have all reported similar experiences of increased protection and spiritual clarity. What makes this technique so powerful is that it works on multiple levels simultaneously. On the physical level, the act of pressing your thumb on your palm activates specific nerve points that calm your nervous system and reduce stress hormones, which makes you less vulnerable to fear-based spiritual attacks. On the psychological level, the ritual creates a sense of empowerment and control, which shifts your consciousness from victim mentality to warrior mentality. And this shift in consciousness is itself a form of protection because dark forces feed on fear and helplessness. So when you stop emanating those frequencies, you become invisible to them. On the spiritual level, the focused intention combined with the sacred words creates a resonance with divine protection frequencies that literally form an energetic shield around your body and your aura. And on the mystical level, by activating the mark that was placed on you before birth, you are remembering who you truly are, a divine being temporarily inhabiting a physical body. And this remembering itself is the ultimate protection because when you know your true identity, nothing in the darkness can deceive you or harm you. But here is where it gets even more powerful. The shield mark is not just defensive, it is also offensive in a spiritual sense. Once activated, your hand becomes a tool of blessing and healing. When you touch someone with your activated hand, you transfer divine protection to them. When you make the sign of the cross over your home with your activated hand, you seal your space against spiritual intrusion. When you place your activated hand on your heart during prayer, you amplify the power of your prayers exponentially. The ancient Christian mystics knew this, which is why the laying on of hands was such a central practice in early Christianity. They were not just symbolically blessing people. They were literally transferring divine energy through activated hand marks that they had learned to use as spiritual technology. Let me tell you how to use this in different urgent situations so you can apply it immediately when you need it most. If you are about to enter a situation that feels spiritually dangerous, a place with bad energy, a meeting with a toxic person, a location where you sense spiritual oppression, activate the shield mark before you go in. Do the complete activation ritual I described. And then, as an added layer of protection, make the sign of the cross over yourself with your activated hand, touching your forehead, your chest, your left shoulder, your right shoulder, and saying, "I am sealed by the mark of Christ. No evil shall touch me." If you wake up in the middle of the night feeling spiritual oppression, immediately press your thumb on your shield mark and repeat the activation words. Keep pressing until you feel the weight lift. If you are in a conversation with someone and you suddenly feel like they are draining your energy or projecting negativity onto you, discreetly place your activated hand over your solar plexus, the area just below your ribcage in the center of your body, and visualize the shield expanding from your hand mark to create a protective bubble around your entire energy field. If you are experiencing a full spiritual attack, what some people call a dark night of the soul, where everything seems to be going wrong, where you feel abandoned by God, where darkness seems to surround you from every direction, this is when you need the shield mark most. Do the activation ritual, but extend it. Instead of 3 breaths, take 9 breaths. Instead of saying the activation words once, repeat them 3 times. And after the 3rd repetition, add this: "I command every spirit of darkness to leave my presence now in the name of Jesus Christ. I declare that I am a child of the Most High God. I am marked with divine protection, and nothing in hell or earth has authority over me." Then keep your thumb pressed on the mark and sit in silence for at least 10 minutes, allowing the divine protection to fully anchor into your being. You can also activate the shield mark for your loved ones even when they are not physically present. Hold their image in your mind, activate your own shield mark, and then visualize your hand reaching across space and activating the same mark on their hand. Send the intention that they are now protected by the same divine shield that protects you. Many people who practice this report that their loved ones call them shortly after saying they suddenly felt a sense of peace or protection wash over them, even though they had no idea what was being done on their behalf. If this information is already making sense and you feel like you have finally found real answers, leave your like now so more people can discover this knowledge. Every like helps the algorithm show this video to someone who desperately needs it right now, someone who might be on the verge of giving up, someone who has been searching for spiritual protection and not finding it anywhere else. There is a deeper layer to this teaching that few people know about. The shield mark in your hand is connected to other marks on your body that together form a complete divine armor system. There is a mark on your forehead, known in mystical Christianity as the seal of the living God, which protects your mind and thoughts. There is a mark on your heart, which protects your emotions and spiritual core. There is a mark on your feet, which grounds you to divine earth energy and prevents spiritual entities from tripping you up or leading you astray. And there is a mark on your tongue, which protects your words and prevents you from speaking curses over yourself or others. When you activate all of these marks together, you become what the ancient texts called a soldier of light, someone who walks through the world completely protected, completely empowered, completely aligned with divine purpose. But we are starting with the hand mark because it is the easiest to locate, the easiest to activate, and the most immediately effective. Once you master the hand mark and experience its power firsthand, you will naturally want to learn the other marks, and I will be teaching those in upcoming videos. If you are not yet subscribed, subscribe now and activate notifications so you do not miss when I reveal the forehead mark activation technique next week, because that one specifically protects you from mental attacks, intrusive thoughts, confusion, and spiritual manipulation, which are some of the most common and devastating forms of spiritual warfare in the modern world. The reason this teaching was suppressed becomes even clearer when you understand the historical context. In the first 3 centuries of Christianity, before it became the official religion of the Roman Empire, Christians were a persecuted minority who had to develop powerful spiritual survival techniques. They could not rely on institutions or buildings or official priests because those things did not exist yet or were constantly being destroyed. What they had was direct knowledge, mystical practices, and spiritual technologies that each believer could activate within themselves. The shield mark was one of these technologies. It appears in early Christian art, in the catacombs of Rome, where you can see images of hands with sacred symbols on the palms. It appears in the writings of the Desert Fathers, who spoke of sealing themselves with the mark of Christ before entering spiritual combat with demons in the wilderness. It appears in the journals of medieval mystics, who described activating points on their bodies to receive visions and divine protection. But when Christianity became institutionalized, when it became about political power and control rather than personal spiritual transformation, these teachings became dangerous to the power structure. A church that teaches people they can access divine protection directly without needing rituals performed by authorized priests, without needing to confess to intermediaries, without needing to purchase indulgences or follow institutional rules, is a church that loses its control. So the teachings were suppressed, labeled as heretical, hidden in texts that were banned, and passed down only through underground mystical traditions. What you need to understand is that by learning this technique, by activating your shield mark, you are not doing anything weird or wrong or against Christianity. You are actually returning to the original Christianity, the Christianity of direct divine experience, the Christianity that Jesus himself taught to his disciples before institutions corrupted his message. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." He said, "You will do greater things than these." He said, "Ask, and you shall receive." He was teaching spiritual empowerment, not spiritual dependence, and the shield mark is part of that empowerment. I want you to try something right now, even before you finish watching this video. Pause for just 30 seconds, look at your right palm, find the mark, press your thumb on it, take 3 deep breaths, and say the activation words I gave you earlier. Do it now. I will wait. Did you feel something? Even if it was subtle, that was the activation beginning. The more you practice this, the stronger it becomes. Some people feel dramatic shifts the first time. Others feel gentle shifts that build over days and weeks. There is no wrong way to experience it. What matters is that you have now taken the first step to activate your divine protection, and that step cannot be undone. Even if you forget to do it again for a while, the seed has been planted, and your spiritual system now knows that this protection is available. Let me give you a specific 7-day practice that will fully anchor the shield mark activation into your spiritual system. For the next 7 days, activate your shield mark first thing every morning when you wake up and last thing every night before you sleep. Morning activation sets your protection for the day ahead. Night activation clears any spiritual debris you may have picked up during the day and protects you while you sleep, which is when you are most vulnerable because your conscious defenses are down. During these 7 days, pay attention to your dreams, to your energy levels, to how people respond to you, to opportunities that appear, to problems that suddenly resolve themselves. You will start to notice patterns. You will start to see that when you are spiritually protected, life flows differently. Obstacles that used to seem insurmountable become manageable. People who used to drain you either change their behavior around you or naturally drift away. Situations that used to trigger anxiety or fear lose their power over you. On the 7th day, after you do your evening activation, add this step. Write down everything you have noticed over the past week. Write down every shift, every protection, every blessing, every synchronicity. This written record serves multiple purposes. It strengthens your faith by showing you concrete evidence that the technique works. It helps you recognize patterns of divine protection that you might otherwise miss, and it becomes a testimony that you can share with others who are suffering and searching for help. And speaking of sharing, if you know someone who is going through spiritual oppression right now, someone who feels attacked, drained, confused, afflicted by invisible forces, share this video with them immediately. You might be the answer to their prayers. You might be the divine messenger who brings them the knowledge that saves their life. Do not underestimate the power of sharing spiritual knowledge. When you share this video, you are not just sharing information, you are extending divine protection to someone who desperately needs it. There is one more crucial thing I need to tell you about the shield mark before we finish. It is not a one-time activation. This is not like getting vaccinated where you do it once and forget about it. The shield mark needs to be maintained through regular activation, ideally daily, because you live in a world that constantly bombards you with spiritual attacks, negative energies, fear frequencies, and entities that want to breach your protection. Think of it like taking a spiritual shower. You take a physical shower every day to wash off physical dirt, right? The shield mark activation is your spiritual shower. It washes off the spiritual dirt, recharges your divine protection, and keeps you operating at your highest frequency. Some people ask me, does this really work, or is it just psychological? And my answer is always the same. Try it and see for yourself. I am not asking you to believe me. I am asking you to test the technique, apply it consistently for 7 days, and observe the results in your own life. That is the beauty of spiritual technology. It works whether you believe in it or not, just like gravity works whether you believe in it or not. But your belief amplifies the effects, so if you can approach this with faith and expectation, the results will be even more powerful. Now, if you have watched this far, it means you are serious about your spiritual protection, and I want to honor that by telling you something that will take your practice to the next level. The shield mark is most powerful when combined with specific prayers that Jesus himself taught in the hidden Gospels. In my next video, I will reveal the exact prayer that Jesus taught his disciples to say while activating the shield mark, a prayer that has been hidden in plain sight in the Gospel of Thomas, but nobody understood how to use it until now. If you are not yet subscribed, subscribe now and turn on all notifications so you do not miss that video, because when you combine the shield mark activation with the hidden prayer, the level of protection multiplies exponentially. Let me end by bringing us back to where we started. To Sarah, the woman sobbing on her bathroom floor at 2 a.m. feeling crushed by invisible weight. That was 2 years ago. Today, Sarah is not just protected, she is thriving. She started her own ministry teaching spiritual protection techniques to other people who were suffering like she was. She has helped hundreds of people activate their shield marks and reclaim their divine power. She told me recently that looking back, that dark night on the bathroom floor was not the worst moment of her life. It was the turning point, because that was the moment she was desperate enough to try something the church had never taught her, and that desperation led to her liberation. Maybe you are in your own version of that bathroom floor moment right now. Maybe you are watching this video because you have tried everything else and nothing worked. Maybe you are exhausted from being spiritually attacked and getting no real help from traditional religious sources. I want you to know that this video found you for a reason. The shield mark has been waiting in your hand your entire life, waiting for this moment when you would finally learn how to activate it. You are not here by accident. This is divine intervention. This is your moment of liberation. Activate your shield mark today. Practice it for 7 days. Watch what happens in your life. And then come back to this video and write in the comments what you experienced. Write your testimony so others can be encouraged. Write your victory so others can have hope. And if you are ready to receive this grace and commit to the 7-day practice, write in the comments right now, I receive this grace and I commit to 7 days. That public declaration activates something powerful in the spiritual realm and holds you accountable to yourself. Like this video so others can discover this suppressed spiritual technology that is changing lives. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications because I am releasing new powerful spiritual protection techniques every single week. And this community is growing into a spiritual army of protected, empowered, awakened believers who refuse to be victims of spiritual warfare anymore. You are not alone in this fight. We are building something powerful here. A movement of spiritually armed people who know their divine identity and walk in divine protection. The shield mark is in your hand right now. The activation technique is in your mind right now. The only question left is, will you use it? Will you take responsibility for your own spiritual protection? Will you step into the power that Jesus intended for you to have? I believe you will. I believe that is why you are still here, still listening, still hungry for truth. Go activate your shield mark right now. Your spiritual liberation starts today.